Rod, what's the situation at the moment for you with just over 3 weeks to go now?
Hello, Pat. Yes, I think the Brexit situation has heightened the ongoing and continuing problem with migrant gangs making the sort of attacks and threats on the driver Gary we've just heard. Now, what essentially seems to be the case is there is a feeling going around these migrant gangs. They're highly organised. They're based around Calais. That Brexit presents the best possible opportunity to get to the UK illegally. And why they think that's the case is firstly because lorries are slowing down and stopping because often the traffic is being sort of checked for future border delays, so therefore there isn't quite the normal movement that there would be. And a slow lorry or a stationary lorry is an easier target than a moving lorry. So that's the first thing. And secondly, I think there's probably some mistaken belief on the part of migrants that it will in some way be necessarily more difficult to get into the UK after Brexit. I think that's just hearsay.
Have you heard reports of this sort of behaviour towards lorry drivers?
Oh yes, I mean we've had this for many years, and many UK lorry drivers won't do the Calais-Dover run anymore because it's too dangerous, and they've said so. So there's nothing new, but it flares up from time to time, and it's flaring up at the moment for the reasons I've just explained.
And we've heard some companies are directing trucks away from Dover. You have knowledge of that too, do you, Rod?
Well, I think obviously logistics, on which we all depend, just-in-time deliveries, every one of us depends on that. So everyone involved in the logistics trade will do everything they can to avoid delays and indeed the sort of trouble that we're talking about. So occasionally that will mean going from different ports or whatever. But essentially, that's not the answer. The answer is that the French authorities need to tackle this. It is on their patch. It is their responsibility. And they ought to enforce the law and stop migrants from doing this sort of thing. It's simply criminal law breaking. And lorry drivers have a right to go to their place of work, which is their truck, as all of us do, in a safe and secure way. None of us expects to go to work to be attacked by gangs with baseball bats.
How has the level of traffic been on the roads, both here in Kent and across the Channel?
Well, I think the traffic at the moment is pretty normal. It's obviously very busy because we're coming up to Christmas, which is a peak time for logistics. A few lorry drivers will tell you, probably listening to this programme, that they've been held up lately on Kent roads because the French authorities have been practising for a post-Brexit world where there will be delays and checks on customs and borders and that sort of thing. So that obviously will create delays. It is a busy time of year, to be fair, and it always is.
And finally, is there going to be a drastic change in January, do you think? The reason I asked, the Chief of Kent Police, Alan Pewsley, told us this morning that he's expecting 6 months of disruption.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call by him. Look, it's going to be bad. Whether there is a deal or a no deal, it's going to be bad. Because for the best part of 50 years, we've not had any border checks. We've had frictionless trade with the EU. And that's all going to change. And even if there are some easements, even if there is a deal, there will still be customs checks and border checks and some delays. Now, what that looks like, at its worst case, it could be catastrophic. At its best case, it will be chaotic and very uncertain. And we will notice the impacts of that because it will affect some of the things that we get in the shops, for example, as well as Honda have proved today, what gets supplied to factories. I'm not saying we're going to run out of food, but what I'm saying is you might have a fantastic choice of, I don't know, fruit and veg or cheese or whatever, and that might not be quite the same in the supermarkets in future.
Rod McKenzie from the Road Haulage Association, thank you for being with us.